Again, we are live on StreamYard and also on YouTube, hopefully.
I'm not saying move.
Oh, we got viewers. Let's see. We got the ticker up. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to share this. Okay. Sorry for the great content, everybody. Let's post this link in here. New link.
I'm not seeing us on YouTube.
You're not seeing it? Well, check. There's one. We have one. It says there's one person looking at it, so we're definitely live at some point in time.
Maybe it's just Twitch because YouTube still says there's 19 waiting. Oh, new link. I didn't realize there was a new link.
Yeah. If you're watching us, just put a comment in the chat. Just let us know this is working. We're checking it all. We don't know if it was a YouTube issue or a StreamYard issue. It seems like we are good to go. We are back. We made it, everybody.
Nice.
We did it. We're here. We are live. Listen, technology. It is a wonderful thing. It's a hectic thing. Let's thank you all for your patience. Thanks for waiting. I will keep the other YouTube video link open, so I'll get to some of those comments in the chat. If you want to throw in, copy and paste or throw in your questions again in this chat, can't hurt. James, I'm going to go tweet out the link again. Why don't you just give people a rundown of what you were saying on the chat before when we were just talking to ourselves without knowing it for 6 minutes about your view on Ronnie Mauricio, where he's at with the Mets. What do you think Ronnie Mauricio's playing time is going to be, etc.?
Yeah, Eric and I did about a 5-minute solo podcast, which we the people call a conversation back in the day. But it was about Ronnie Mauricio and where he's at with the Mets right now, because we had the full total Ronnie Mauricio experience in the last 5 days since he got called up with the Mark Viento's hamstring strain with the Mets, where he went 0 for his first 11, and then Friday night he hits what looked like a game-winning home run, stares at it in Coors Field, winds up being a double, saunters in the second base because Coors Field is the largest outfield in baseball. Then Saturday comes alive, long home run, 456-foot blast to the third deck of Coors Field, on base 2 more times, steals a base, then makes a bad error at third base. Then Sunday draws 2 walks, gets 2 more hits, just looks like a fantastic player. And that's kind of what we're going to see with Ronnie Mauricio. He's going to become one of the biggest boom or bust guys, I think, in the entire league moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And we also don't really know how his playing time is going to shake out with the Mets, because we saw him play shortstop one game where Francisco Lindor was out with his broken toe. Then he moved over to third base. But interestingly enough, when he was playing third base, the Mets were going with Brett Beatty at second and Jeff McNeil in center. So interesting, that's the way they were choosing to align their defense, which I don't know if that's more of a fear with Ronnie's knee, just because he had the torn ACL, he had the complications. And maybe lateral movement at second base is a little more difficult for him, where he can just plant himself at third and use his cannon of an arm. But as long as he hits, he's going to play. This Mets infield is going to be a meritocracy for the next few weeks as they try to sort through just the differences between Beatty, Mauricio, Luis Angel Acuna, and eventually Vientos. But the fear with these guys is that Mark Vientos is the only one without a minor league option. So any of Beatty, Acuna, or Mauricio can be sent back down to the minor leagues. I'm assuming the first of that, guys, is easily Luis Angel Acuna.
Right.
But past that, I think it is going to be a battle for what's going to be like 1.5 spots. Because even Starling Marte is hitting well right now. He's getting a lot more of those DH reps. And Jesse Winker is expected to start the rehab assignment the next few weeks as well. So that's going to take another roster spot from a dynamic young infielder.
Yeah, and the question also is, like, if Acuna goes down, which I agree with you makes the most sense, but McNeil is hitting well enough, you're kind of rotating 3 guys for 2 spots at third and DH, and remembering that, like, Starling Marte is going to DH against lefties because he's been hitting decently recently, and so they're going to keep doing that. So then you're kind of like, and it would be, I would feel like they're going to have to go Vientos against lefties, even at third.
I would feel that, but he's been really bad on both sides of the ball, to the point where he was kind of dropped into a part-time player before this injury, before Mauricio was on this roster. He was only getting about 3 or so starts a week. He's the one. If he had the minor league option, I think that he would have already been sent down to clear his head. But there's not really a lot of good things happening for Mark Vientos. And I do think that they're going to give him a chance to break out, but like a guy like Beatty has been better on both sides of the ball than Vientos this season. So
Yeah.
it is hard to squint and find his playing time, despite the fact that it makes the most sense that he would get some. But he has to be on the roster, so we will get some anyway. It's going to come down to how well Mauricio plays over the next few weeks. If he just takes the bull by the horns, he's going to be in the lineup the rest of the year. And if he struggles, there's a good chance that he then gets sent down as well for either Winker or Vientos coming back.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to keep in mind. I want to give this opportunity to Dylan Gold asked this in the last chat, so I'm just copying and pasting it in here so we can see it up on the screen. And again, I will do this for some of the questions. If your questions were in the other chat, if you want to place them in this one as well, go for it. Just put them down in the comments. Dylan asked, in a 14-team weekly points league, so this is your time to shine, does the Quinn Priester two-step against the Braves and Cardinals vaunt him ahead of one-start guys like Elder against Colorado, McGill against Tampa Bay, and the other one was Cease against the Dodgers? So does Priester earn that spot for you over any of those three guys?
I mean, it's pretty insane that we're having a conversation with Quinn Priester versus Dylan Cease in June, but Priester, they've been using an opener ahead of him, so because he'd be giving fine length. He hasn't not been pitching much, but it's just it's not been a big difference between the strikeouts and walks this season. That's always the biggest fear for me, especially facing two at least middle of the road offenses. But you kind of have to lean the two starts, especially with having an opener before him and not guaranteed to throw 5 innings. It actually gives him a better chance to earn you a win somehow. But from that list, I tend to lean McGill just because I think that the Rays offense has been better of late, and not in Florida is interesting. I don't know. I probably do tell you Priester, but I don't feel great about it.
I think Priester is my lowest of that group. And I get that it's a two-start. I'm McGill and Cease are my highest.
Yeah.
So it's the question of Elder against Priester. And Elder, the Rockies in Atlanta, like, I just want to attack that matchup. That Priester two-step could go horribly wrong.
Could go sideways fast.
And so I like Priester. I don't have any issues with him, but I think he's the last of my group here. The first chat, Good Joe asked, do we go ahead and start Eury Perez in his first game back with rain in the forecast, or do we sit? Remember with Eury Perez, this is a Marlins team that is not contending. He missed all of last season. I think you're looking at most likely a lot of 5-inning starts for Eury Perez, maybe 6 if he's being super efficient. There's no reason for the Marlins to push him really deep into games, especially right now. Like maybe by August or September, they want to give him a little bit of run. So you're looking at 5 innings for one of the worst teams in baseball, and a guy off of Tommy John, where we've seen with Spencer Strider, Lucas Giolito, that you don't really know what kind of command you're getting. We think it will be back, but it might not be back. It's the Pirates. I think I would prefer to wait and sit this one out, given all of those. But if you're in a 15-team league and your option is starting Giolito, who just got wrecked, or starting Eury Perez, I'm okay rolling the dice on Perez. I'd rather not, but I don't think it's going to go bad. I think it might just be a 4-inning start. And if the rain comes and they're delayed, they're not going to put him back out again. So there's some risks.
Yeah, the rain part is the weird caveat, the strange wild card here. But the way that Eury worked up a very long rehab assignment, 30 full days, he got to 80 pitches, I think, in each of his last 2 rehab starts with AAA. You seem like you're basically guaranteed for 85 pitches. And you think if Eury can be efficient, which everything we saw in his rehab starts, I think that he can be. Seeing the way he used that new sinker was great. The fastball's amazing. Secondary is good. It's you're probably getting close to 5 innings at minimum, and it's against the Pirates. So at worst, you're 5 strikeouts, maybe 1 or 2. I don't know. I think if we saw him get kind of rush back to the league a little quicker, I don't think this is a Sawyer Gipson Long situation from last week where it's if you get 5 innings, it's a good outcome. this is 5 innings is probably like a 50th percentile outcome. I think you could play on that and trust him moderately in a deeper league unless you have a better option.
Yeah, I think it's easier to keep him benched in a 12-team league. I'm keeping him benched in my 12-team home league. That league also has a pretty strict innings cap, so like you really can't start every guy all season long, or you'll hit the innings cap in like August and get no points for the rest of the year. In deeper formats, I think you're right. Like the floor is pretty high, but I don't think the ceiling is really high in this first start. And so that's where I'm at with Eury Perez. DVS had asked in the last chat, what do you guys think Chase Burns' ETA is for the Reds after his promotion to AAA? September, I think. I blurbed this morning, and I said, like, remember Hunter Green is coming back. Well, I mean, eventually. He's going to take that spot in the rotation that might be like Wade Miley's spot, I guess. But like, Nick Lodolo's not going anywhere. Andrew Abbott's not going anywhere. Hunter Green isn't going anywhere. And then Nick Martinez, and I'm trying to think of who the fifth starter on the Reds is that I'm like blanking on right now.
Fifth starter on the Reds?
Because it's
Brady Singer.
Who?
Brady Singer.
Oh, Brady Singer. And they just signed Brady Singer, so he's not going anywhere. So for me, it's Nick Martinez is on a 1-year qualifying offer. Nick Martinez is going to be an attractive pitcher at the deadline because he can pitch out of the bullpen multiple innings. He can be a starter. The Reds are going to have paid off a lot of that salary. So my ETA on Burns is if they trade Nick Martinez at the deadline, I think Burns could take that spot in the rotation for like, some of August and September if he's pitching well enough in AAA. And they could say, hey, here's 5-6 starts to end the season. Like, let's see what you got. Let's see what you're doing. And then that gives them a little bit of a sense of like, is he in the rotation in 2026 or is he starting in AAA and has to prove it? But I don't think that's worth stashing right now because I think there's still a lot of dominoes that have to fall.
Yeah, similar to what you're thinking. I think we're guaranteed nearly guaranteed the Chase Burns debut this season, but also not worth stashing in the slightest way, despite the fact that he's a AAA.
Yeah, it's tough. And then you have Petty, who I guess is maybe still ahead of him. We don't know. His starts haven't gone well, but at the same time, like he is a prospect of note. Is Rhett Lauder going to be back by August or September?
That's true. I think you can always probably anticipate an injury with this Reds rotation. And also, Brady Singer has one more year of his contract after this one, so he is another moderately attractive trade chip. I think that it is more about the impressiveness of Chase Burns getting AAA rather than thinking he's another step away because they just have weirdly a lot of pitching depth here. I do think he'll debut this season, but I wouldn't hold my breath for it.
Agreed. We're getting a lot of questions on the Royals starting pitching, and that's very understandable. What are your thoughts on how the Royals are going to use Bubic in the upcoming weeks? Should I be looking to move him? We already know that they pushed back a start. Bubic threw 130 innings in 2021 and then 129 innings in 2022, but then 16 innings, 30 innings. He's already at 75 innings.
Yeah, one of the best in the league.
They're going to try to limit his innings a little bit. They have the luxury of doing that because Noah Cameron has pitched well and is now the sixth starter. Kyle Wright is coming back and could also be somebody who, again, like spot start here and there to lengthen the rotation a little bit. They don't have to move Lorenzen to the bullpen. I know some people want them to. I think they're going to be cautious with Bubic's innings. I just couldn't tell you with any confidence whether that's just kind of moving him to the bullpen for the last few months of the season and letting him pitch out of the bullpen in the playoffs and using him now to get them there or saving him. Like they're not a lock for the postseason right now, where if you take a guy who's been really good out of the rotation because you want to save him for a postseason run and then you don't make a postseason run, that's a problem. I kind of think you just see them push a start skip a start here and there and hope to keep using him and earn a playoff spot. And so I wouldn't be trading him unless I'm getting like I'm not trading him low. I'm trying to get somebody who's equally valuable who may have a little bit more track record.
I think if this was a team, not the Royals, I'd be more inclined to think he'll be shut down or reduced legitimately at some point. But we saw them last season in not that dissimilar of a situation where Cole Ragans was now another full year removed from the second Tommy John, had thrown 40 innings in 2022, 96 innings 2023, and he came back last year and he got his way up to 186 before the postseason where he threw about 15 more. So I think that they're a team that has told us in the past, like, hey, we're going to use these guys if we have them. I think that's where I think that's what this team does. I think they pushed Lugo too. I know he was a full year back in the rotation after the season with San Diego, but they pushed him up to one of the highest inning counts in all of baseball after he threw about 180 the year before, but before that it was like 40, 50 season for a couple of years back. I think that they're a team that's not really scared to push these guys' workloads. I do think they'll find regular spots to skip Bubic as the second half goes along. But I do think that we're going to get to the postseason. We're going to see Bubic or something like 150, 160.
Let me ask you some either or questions.
Okay.
Right. If you could get Drew Rasmussen for Chris Bubic, would you trade Bubic to get Rasmussen?
I don't think so. Because don't you have the same concerns with Rasmussen? That at some point he's getting shut down. And that's, I think, a team that's more likely to limit his innings.
Sure.
I think if you switch their teams right now, I would probably say I would take Royals Rasmussen over Rays Bubic, because I would say Rays Bubic is probably capped at 130, 140, which is where I think Rays Rasmussen might get capped as well. He's someone that I'm worried about losing for the end of the fantasy baseball season, actually, much more so. But talent-wise, I think that's something I'd consider.
So what about his teammate? Would you trade Bubic to get Ryan Pepio, who probably has no innings restriction, is pitching a little worse than Bubic, but is still pitching pretty well?
That's a fun one, because especially because we all keep the bias of heading into the season. I think everyone loved Pepio, and now we're seeing good results for Pepio without it feels like him even actually reaching the potential that we thought he was, because that strikeout upside hasn't really snapped all the way back yet. I even would probably be reluctant to do that. Again, I'm of the camp, and I could be dead wrong about this by the end of the season. I don't think Bubic is going to be limited much at all. I think if he gets injured, that's like anybody else getting injured. I think he gets a start skipped here and there. But I think this Royals team is gung-ho to make the postseason. And they know they have their best shot at doing that with Chris Bubic pitching every fifth day. And I do think he's good enough to maintain not a 1.5 ERA, but something like a 3.3 ERA the rest of the season, which that's probably, again, still a hair better than what I think Pepio is going to do.
Okay. Teammate says, can you give any info on Cole Ragans hold trade? I would hold.
Yeah.
I would hold or trade for. Ragans to me this is a clear groin injury, right? Like, we knew he had the groin injury and he didn't go on the IL. And then his 2 starts before going on the IL were poor. And it was like, okay, clearly this guy is pitching through an injury. He comes back off the IL with no rehab starts, and his first start back is poor. I just think this is injury and a little treating that last start like it was a rehab start. So I think Cole Ragans is going to still be a top 10 starting pitcher in fantasy for the remainder of the season. Remembering that, like, if you think of like what we thought the top 10 was coming into the year, like, Burns is out for the year. Spencer Strider is clearly not Spencer Strider. Logan Gilbert is injured right now, and his fastball velocity fell to like 92 on his last pitch in the last rehab start. So we don't know what's going on there. So there are a lot of question marks. Like, I just don't feel like I would want to be giving away Cole Ragans right now. I just don't think his value is as high as you'd want it to be trading him away. So I'm going to hold. And then somebody else had asked similarly about him, about would you start Cole Ragans against the Yankees this week because he's been getting hit? I think if you have Cole Ragans, you're starting him personally.
Yeah, I think Cole Ragans is the best. It's the best buy low in fantasy baseball right now. Like, Cole Ragans right now, his Sierra 2.45 is one of the lowest in the league. His strikeout minus walk rate around 28% is one of the highest in the entire league. He's been remarkably unlucky when he has actually been pitching. It's been weird 2-out home runs. It's been lots of 2-out RBIs. It's been inherited runners scoring. Like I don't know if I've seen a pitcher earn a 5.18 ERA less than Cole Ragans has this season. I think he's like top 10. Like I would even just bold and brash. I'd even give him basically borderline top 5 for the rest of the season. I think as long as he
Agreed.
can get through this groin injury, and for Cole Ragans to have a groin injury, that's not even that bad of an outcome because I'm just so worried about Cole Ragans' left arm and shoulder. The fact it's a groin injury, I'm like, yes, all right, just take a week and then get back. And then I have the utmost faith in Cole Ragans. If someone in your league is panicking about Cole Ragans, that's a great time to jump. He's allowing a 382 batting average on balls in play. That's an incomprehensible level for someone that's striking out 36% of the batters they're facing.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I am less convinced in Noah Cameron.
Much.
Listen, Noah Cameron, props to him. And even though I'm going to say some things that are negative, it's not that I think he's a bad pitcher. It's that I don't think he is anywhere near what he is currently pitching to. First of all, 148 BABIP. Absurdly low. 99% left on base rate. 99%. 99% of the runners he leaves on base do not score. That is wild. It's a wild strand rate. You've got a guy with just a 7.6% strikeout minus walk ratio. He has just an 11% swinging strike rate. He is not missing bats. He's not getting strikeouts. He's getting so lucky on balls in play. He doesn't have any kind of dominant pitch. He does a good job mixing and matching, staying off the barrel. He has good command. All those things are really solid about Noah Cameron. I just think there is a huge game against him coming in the near future. And it would absolutely not shock me if it's this Yankee game. I have Noah Cameron in a lot of leagues. I've held on to him, waiting to see what the Royals say they're going to do. I'm sitting him in every single league this week, and that's including some 15-team leagues where pitching is dire. And I just can't do it. I can't do it this week.
Yeah, with someone like Noah Cameron, we have to make sure we maintain our objectivity, understanding how well he's pitched so far, but then being like, no matter who the matchup is, it's still Noah Cameron. And if you get burned, if Noah Cameron has a quality start against the Yankees, like you kind of accept that in the bench, knowing that the downside is Noah Cameron not getting out of the first inning. Like that's just kind of where he's at right now with his luck stats, and not taking anything away from Noah Cameron. I've recapped a lot of Noah Cameron starts because they have a lot of them happen to be on Wednesdays and Fridays because that lines up with the 5 days, Wednesday to Friday. But it's fun. It's fun watching him pitch. Like he's an old school guy. He's a big lefty with the rec specs on. Like it's funny watching him. Like I covered the game where he faced Hunter Green. And Hunter Green's pumping 100. Hunter Green's slider was faster than Noah Cameron's fastball.
I know. It's wild.
And it's like that, but it's fun to watch that this day and age in pitching. We're also understanding like, oh, if he goes up against the Yankees, I'm not that hopeful.
Yeah. All right, we're done with the Royals pitching. Cutter Crawford is inching toward a return. Is there any chance he puts Walker Buehler's rotation spot in jeopardy? No. So there's two reasons for that. One, Boston signed Buehler to a 1-year deal worth a lot of money, and they're going to try to get as much out of him as they can. Also, to either get them into the playoffs or to trade him away to somebody at the deadline if the Red Sox fall out of the playoffs. Also, that spot that's open is the Hunter Dobbins spot, which is also the Richard Fitz spot. I think that's more likely for Crawford. Remember that Crawford's also, he was really struggled in the second half last year. He's coming off a knee injury, now has a wrist injury. So I don't even know how close Cutter Crawford is.
No.
I wouldn't be stashing him anywhere right now, and I wouldn't worry about him taking anybody's spot in the rotation, at least for another 3 weeks to a month, and then we could revisit that conversation.
Yeah, I was going to say the All-Star break is probably the soonest we could see him. The rehab assignment hasn't even begun yet. It was about to begin, but then he got shut down. And I don't know, the Red Sox team has so many more issues right now besides the potential return of Cutter Crawford.
Agreed.
And it is Dobbins, obviously the guys coming out. But despite as bad as Giolito and Buehler have been, I think we're at the point with those two guys where even if you're in a 12-team league, I would be struggling to hold on to them unless their upcoming 3 games, their schedule were on the road and against really good matchups. Yeah.
And maybe in a month, maybe those guys they're good pitchers. In a month, maybe they'll turn things around. But right now it's hard to play them at all. The Midlife Crisis says, would you release Tanner Scott for Felix Bautista? Now, I think people are overreacting a little bit to Tanner Scott's struggles. And there's a lot of questions about would you hold Tanner Scott or hold Michael Kopech? This one is a little different because Felix Bautista is a good reliever. He's also not having the type of season we're used to seeing from him because he missed all of last year.
Mm-hmm.
A 3.32 ERA, 12 saves is good. A 30% strikeout rate, which is high, but is not close to the 46% strikeout rate that he had in his last fully healthy season. So we are not seeing the version of Felix Bautista that was pre-injury. We're not seeing the version of Tanner Scott that we were expecting to see coming into the year. Where would you go here? Would you pick up Felix Bautista? I guess he's on waiver wires in this league and release Tanner Scott.
I think so, just because when I'm looking to pick up a closer, I'm looking more as much. Depends on the shallowness of the league, but in this situation, it would be as much about the role as it is about the actual pitcher itself. And Tanner Scott hasn't been lights out this year. He's actually struggled, and now we got our first game back with Michael Kopech and Kirby Yates over the weekend. And Yates pitched the 7th, Scott pitched the 8th, Kopech pitched the 9th. And that's not telling me anything indicative about the roles. What that's telling me is that the Dodgers are going to be a heavily closer by committee team moving forward, as long as these 3 players are healthy. Where Bautista, despite the fact that there has been some ins and outs with his stuff in his command, he is going to get the 9th inning. I think that if you need saves, that just has to be the guy in the situation.
Yep, I would agree with that. And if the Orioles come alive a little bit, if the Orioles come alive a little bit, that save number should tick up.
Yeah.
Michael Caston wants to know for rest of season, Nick Kurtz, Matt Wallner, Ben Rice, Jason Dominguez. Are you worried about the playing time for the Yankees guys? I kind of think that might be the order. Maybe Dominguez over Rice. I think it depends on like where you're at. Right now, I have Kurtz ahead of those because the playing time is the most secure. Like, he's not really getting platooned. The Athletics aren't going to send him down. I don't think. And, Wallner is never going to play against lefties.
Yeah.
The Rice Dominguez thing is a huge question with Trent Grisham and then with Stanton working his way back to a rehab assignment, because at bare minimum, Stanton is starting against left-handed pitchers. Whether they then start him also against righties or whether he stays healthy for more than like 3 weeks is another question.
3 minutes.
But like Rice and Dominguez are already not playing every day. And the thing that's so frustrating about Rice is that you're not even like, oh, he's a lefty, so he's not going to play against lefties. Like, no, he will play against some lefties, but he won't play against some righties. So you will you'll look at the schedule and you'll say, oh, Ben Rice, 2 lefties, I'm going to sit him. And then he plays versus the lefties and sits versus the righty. And you're like, I don't know I don't know when he's going to be in the lineup and when he's not going to be in the lineup. And it's a little bit infuriating to have him on your team.
Yeah, it's almost like the Yankees are sitting Ben Rice against the pitchers that they are expecting to hit. The last 3 pitchers he sat against were Yusei Kikuchi, Landon Knack, and Walker Buehler. And I'm trying to discern any like pitch mix changes that could be like a reason we're sitting Rice because of his swing path, but I can't really find anything between those 3 guys. Like the fact that he's, again, in this Red Sox series, sits against Buehler and starts against Crochet, that tells us how much the Yankees value Ben Rice. Dominguez is the one who's oddly losing the most playing time, but everything that Dominguez is doing at the plate is telling me breakout. Like this could be a guy that goes off second half, but he can't play defense, which is amazing that he can't play corner outfield at Yankee Stadium.
Right. And a 30% strikeout rate. I mean, he's had some swing and miss concerns in the past. He's got a 71% contact rate overall with a 14% swinging strike rate. Like, to me, that's the same concerns we have about Nick Kurtz in terms of what's the swinging strike rate, what's the contact rate. Like the Nick Kurtz, Jason Dominguez contact rates and swinging strike rates are similar. Kurtz has more power right now and better playing time.
Yeah,
I think more playing time security. So I think that's kind of your answer, unless there's an injury with the Yankees that opens up some sort of playing time opportunity for some of these guys.
It has to be so frustrating from the Yankees' perspective that they are stuck at a position in second base. And now Josh Chisholm's back playing third base. That eases some of these issues, but just they're going to have an amazing hitter on the bench every single day with DJ LeMahieu being bad at offense and bad in defense at second base, just because he's the only guy that can actually play there. Like, can Ben Rice pick up a glove and play third with Jazz going back to second? Like, is that completely unheard of? Like, they haven't even tried it. I don't know.
Also, how dare you? DJ LeMahieu is hitting 258.
Oh.
He already has a 91.7 mile an hour average exit velocity. DJ LeMahieu. It's great. He's back. Dylan says in a one catcher league, 14 team points.
Yeah.
How do you compare Tyler Stevenson to Austin Wells this week? Stevenson has 6 games. It's at Cleveland, at Detroit. Wells is 6 games at Kansas City, at Boston.
I'm trying to check quickly if the Reds have still been using Stevenson some at DH, because I know that the emergence of J.C. Escara has like any catcher in the league, it has taken Austin Wells out of the lineup a day or two a week, as any catcher would.
And the answer is yes to the Stevenson DH thing.
You kind of just have to lean there. Like if you're getting more plate appearances, you're getting more plate appearances. And Stevenson, they're both playing fine. I think they both line up as guys who you're comfortable playing in a 14-team league, but without being, shocking. But with Stevenson getting those DH reps, I think you have to go with him.
I agree. I would go with Stevenson there as well. Also, like Encarnacion Strand coming back maybe cuts into some of like the potential DH time because they're moving guys around, but it also makes the lineup a little deeper if he's going to hit well.
He's good, yeah.
And if you have Friedel and Ellie De La Cruz and Encarnacion Strand, like, I can't believe Matt McLean is the 9-hitter for this team, but whatever. We're just going to keep going there. I would prioritize Stevenson as well. Mm-hmm. Mitch says Adolis Garcia was dropped in my league. Is he worth picking up? Obviously, this is going to be league dependent. And if you are here in the comments and want to, let us know what league it is, what league type it is, go for it. A couple things are interesting. First of all, 92.9 mile an hour average exit velocity for Adolis Garcia. That is a career high. 13.5% barrel rate this year for Adolis Garcia. That is the second highest ever for him. The pull rates, the fly ball rate is way up. The infield fly ball rate is way up. So I think this is a little bit of like an attack angle issue for him. The swinging strike rate is up, but again, like it's up to 16%. It was at 14.5% when he was really good. He has a 69.9% contact rate. It was 70.2% in his really good year. He's never going to post really good contact rates. He's always going to swing and miss. So to me, none of that is like, whoa, Adolis Garcia is really struggling. To me, this is a launch angle attack point issue. And that feels a little bit more correctable. This was a decent week for him. I think, like, judging by the NFBC stats, like he hit like 286 this week. There wasn't a lot of power. There wasn't like, oh my God, he had a huge game. But, he's got a hit now in 5 straight games. He stole a base on Sunday or on Saturday when he played. So it's like, okay, maybe we're creeping back in a little bit. And so unless you're in like a 10-team league, I would pick him up and see, like, he's a streaky hitter who could have a huge second half.
Definitely. We see this a lot when teams struggle, where it's just like there's a funk with all the players. Like, it's hard to look at this Rangers lineup right now and definitively be like, this guy's hitting great, this guy's hitting great, just because it's a full team funk, and it has been for 2 months. Like, that tears down every guy in the lineup. But they're so talented that there's going to be a time where this team finds a way to heat up. And a home series against the White Sox in a weekend, that usually is a good situation for something like that to begin. They have a couple series coming up. I mean, the Pirates are a good pitching team, but they're not so good. Everywhere else, it's like this. It's all about this Rangers team clicking, and it feels like it'll be something where like every single one of these guys kind of finds a way to get hot at the same time, and there's not a lot of discernible reasons why many of them are struggling to the point where they are.
Yeah. We're gonna stick a little bit past 1 o'clock here just because we got started late, but we're gonna rattle off some quick ones here. So we're not gonna be as in depth. We're gonna try to give you answers to all these questions. So James, first, points league. Dylan says Aranda or Goldie this week. Goldie has 3 left-handed pitchers, but it's Bubic, Ragans, and Crochet. And Aranda has all righties, but is on the road. Do you have a preference there?
Slightly in Aranda, but I wouldn't hate Goldschmidt either. I think this is one of those questions where it's just very granular. Like, you almost have to just trust the gut, but I would slightly lean Aranda because he's still just hitting the crap out of the ball. The guy is awesome. It's amazing what Jonathan Aranda's done this season at the plate, but it's also, you also have to remember when you look at the stats, like, he's only playing in plate appearances where he has the advantage. So that's always like the fun grain of salt thing. But if you get into 6 righties, that's it. 6 righties.
Someone dropped Seager in my league. No brainer to pick him up. Yes, no brainer.
No brainer. Doesn't matter.
Anytime these veterans like this have struggles, you got to go and pick them up. Joe says, who do you like more, rest of season, Weathers or Birdsong? That's Weathers for me.
Yeah, me too.
We got confirmation that his velocity dip the last game was a concussion, and it was not an arm, and so it's Weathers. And I got to say, as a former catcher, you never wish injury on anybody. That was 100% not the catcher's fault.
No, it's definitely Weathers' fault. But
there were a lot of people like, what is the catcher doing? The catcher's throwing down to second base. Like
every inning.
Every inning since you've been like 8 years old, that's been what the catcher does. Like that's what he was doing. Maybe it was a bad throw, but it wasn't that bad. Like that.
I don't think it was that bad. Weathers just standing at the plate. It's just this kind of goes in the long line of Ryan Weathers having ridiculously bad luck since he was drafted. Basically, nothing actually working out for this guy, but. I think Weathers is awesome. I think to me, he's probably top 35 pitcher rest of season. Or Birdsong.
I'm a big fan.
Huge fan of Weathers.
His teammate. Any interest in Calvin Fauché?
Yes.
I feel like we do this all the time with the Marlins. Like it looks like Fauché is going to get the job, and then Henriquez gets the job, and then it looks like Fauché is going to get the job. They haven't had a save opportunity in a little while. They got swept by the Rockies.
They're playing.
But do you have any interest in Fauché at all?
I think marginal 15-team league. I would look at Fauché if I really needed a second closer. If I was chasing saves and wanted to, I wouldn't like stretch for a third for Calvin Fauché just because you're hoping to get one save opportunity a week, and he's, I think, a good reliever rather than a great one. I do think he's the best reliever in that bullpen. But that's also not. I don't know. It's not really saying that much either. I'm fine if you're desperate for saves and don't have a confident second closer. Yes, but I wouldn't be stretching to grab Calvin Fauché.
Agreed. Someone dropped Cole Ragans.
Yes.
Should I drop Tyler Mahle or Rasmussen? Drop Mahle.
Yeah, that's a third option because those guys are both pitching well too.
Those guys are both pitching well. I wouldn't want to drop either of them, but I would drop Mahle to get Cole Ragans.
Yeah, the Cole Ragans is one of the 5 best pitchers in baseball. Pick him up.
10-team dynasty, and he was dropped. Also find a new manager for that league.
Yeah, it's
dropping Cole Ragans in a dynasty league is wild mismanagement of a team. Please go pick him up immediately. We forgive you if you just close the stream right now.
Oh, good.
How do you rank these IL stashes? Glasnow, McClanahan, Bieber, Grayson Rodriguez, Sasaki, Arrighetti. Couple things. Bieber seeing a doctor this week.
Shut down.
Felt some soreness in the elbow. For me, that takes him off this list. There's a chance of re-injury. Like I'm not considering Bieber right now until we hear about that. Glasnow, like he says he's fine. His manager says he's not bouncing back well. I don't know what's going on there. That kind of takes him off the list for me as well, because there's there's differing opinions of how his body is responding to things. Sasaki wasn't particularly good before. He was bad. Yeah. Before getting hurt, the Dodgers have no reason to rush him back. He is on a minor league contract. They can keep him in the minors as long as they want to. So for me, this is a question of McClanahan, Grayson Rodriguez, and Arrighetti. McClanahan and Grayson Rodriguez have the higher ceiling. Arrighetti is coming off the least troubling injury because it was a broken thumb. It wasn't an elbow, shoulder type of injury. McClanahan is back throwing, but he also missed all of last year. I think if you're shooting for upside, I would rank them McClanahan, Grayson Rodriguez, Arrighetti. I think if you're in a deeper league and you just want somebody who's going to be with your team for the majority of the season, I would probably rank them Arrighetti, Grayson Rodriguez, and McClanahan, because I think Arrighetti is going to be back soonish, and I don't expect him to leave the rotation at any point for the rest of the season.
Yeah, watching these names file down the list, I was shocked that when I got to Arrighetti, he was my favorite of all of them moving forward. But I agree with you, Arrighetti, G-Rod, McClanahan, and I don't think I'd even be considering stashing the other ones. I guess not Glasnow. We could probably throw Blake Snell into this list too. I think he probably lines up similarly to Glasnow, where it's like we just don't know, and there's no emphasis in the Dodgers to rush these guys back besides to make sure they're warm for October. So we'll probably just see a month out of these guys towards the end of the season. There's like 4 or 5 innings at a time.
Please rank these starting pitchers: McCullers, Will Warren, Bailey Ober, Bryce Miller. I'll let you go first this one.
Oh my gosh. Talked a lot about McCullers in a YouTube video I did a few days ago, but he's been shockingly good despite like a full junk profile, getting 6 innings back-to-back starts. I still would go Ober, I think, first handedly over this group right now. Like, he's still giving you the most length. He's not really getting the strikeouts. The fastball's not getting any swings and misses whatsoever, but he's got some new slider variations that have been fun. Bryce Miller's probably one of the most disappointing players in all fantasy baseball this season. It's been just horrible to watch him suffer. It seems like he's not healthy. He's got no command. The stuff is not as sharp.
He's not. He's got that bone spur.
I know. He said he's not healthy. So I think we're kind of just like circling the drain, waiting for Bryce Miller to be like, all right, I'm actually going to hang it up. I'm done, or at least take 2 months off.
Yeah.
So I would go Ober, Warren, McCullers, Miller, as disgusting as that sounds.
I kind of think that's how I have Ober, Warren, and then I maybe have Miller over McCullers because they're both injury risks, but
yeah,
McCullers is healthy right now, and to me, Miller is not healthy. And so, yeah, I could see that at all. I could see
McCullers been so funny too. So much junk.
Is Zac Gallen cooked? I mean, like mid-rare, maybe.
Yeah.
Like he's not fully cooked, but he's getting cooked. I've been out on Gallen a little bit for the last couple of years because he has always given up a lot of hard contact, has a lot of innings on that arm. And to me, somebody who gives up a lot of hard contact and is increasingly given up more hard contact, he's so reliant on pitch sequencing and pitch tunneling that he has very little margin for error. And so I just think right now you're seeing a guy who probably is like a low 4 ERA pitcher. In a 15-team league, I still think Gallen is worth holding on to. In a 12-team league, I think you can use him to play matchups. Like, I don't know that you need to cut him, but I don't think like this idea that Zac Gallen is a top 30 pitcher for fantasy is coming back at any point in time.
No, Zac Gallen has been burned by the home run ball this year, which is something that probably will level out as the season goes along, but also it's someone that his fastball is not as effective anymore, and his command's been worse. Like in the last start against the Reds, he gave up 3 homers. One was on just a really nice pitch, a 3-2 knuckle curve just out of the zone by Kristen Encarnacion Strand. He just went out and fished and got because he has that crazy power. But the other 2 were just bad hangers, a curveball and a slider, Matt McClay and Jose Trevino, where it's just Zac Gallen can't really afford to hang a lot of breaking balls in the heart of the zone right now. And if he continues to do that, which he has, like that home run rate won't snap back the way it should.
Yep. Fully agreed. A couple quick ones to end this points league. So I'm going to you first. How would you rank Nick Kurtz, Christian Encarnacion Strand, Jake Berger, Royce Lewis?
And Kurtz first. I think Berger, I'm a little more confident Berger right now, maybe than the field. I still like him moving forward. I probably put CES last. Kurtz, Berger, Lewis, CES.
Okay.
First initial reaction there.
Yeah, you're better at points than I am, so I'll take your word for it, but it doesn't sound crazy to me. Frank says, are you aware of any injury to Fernando Tatis Jr.? No home runs or RBIs in 11 games. I will say with the no home runs, the fly out that he bat flipped that everybody made fun of him on, there were a lot of tweets afterwards. Baseballs hit that hard with that launch angle have been a home run like every single time for the last like 5 years, I think was the stat. That was like the only time it hadn't been a home run. Like it was wild that ball didn't leave the yard. And that's like the added drag on the baseball, that kind of stuff that like Eno Saris wrote a great article about in The Athletic. So he should have 1 home run in the last 11 games. But no, I have not heard of anything in terms of injuries. There might be something he's hiding. Guys play through stuff all the time. But as of right now, we don't know anything. I think you just, throw him in your lineup and keep it going.
Yeah, he just kind of gets hot and cold. He's done this last few years now.
Yeah. 2 more, another points league. Head-to-head points. Taylor Ward, Colton Cowser, Randy Arozarena. How do you rank them rest of season?
Arozarena, Ward, Cowser. Is that crazy? I still trust Randy, but he's not been close to as good as he was that first month of the season. Stolen bases don't give you that much of an edge in a points league, but also Taylor Ward, the strikeouts, the boom and bust will always hurt you in a points league. Same with Colton Cowser with those strikeouts.
I might put Cowser over Ward, but again, your point, stolen bases aren't as valuable in a points league. They have value, obviously,
but not so
it's
much.
Not why Cowser is more valuable than Ward in a standard 5x5, because that's a category in and of itself. So yeah, but I think you're right on that. And then the last thoughts on Jordan Westburg. Jordan Westburg's supposed to come back this week. I was a big fan of Jordan Westburg in the preseason. I don't think he's been healthy at all this year. So I'm going to totally throw out his stats for this season so far. He was sidelined with a quote upper body injury for days in March. And then they didn't really specify what the injury was. And then he came back and played, and he was playing through an injury for a lot of April. And then he went on the IL. So I'm assuming we're getting a healthy version of Jordan Westburg. He's been out for long enough that I think he's rested. And so I was in on him at the start of the year. I'm going to be in on him now. I've tried to get shares of him where I could if people were tired of holding him on the IL, or if they dropped him in some leagues that have no IL. So I think whatever your preseason expectations were for Jordan Westburg, those should be your rest of season expectations. And I was a fan.
Yeah.
So
ditto. Very, very excited about Jordan Westburg returning.
Yeah. We would like to just thank everybody for their patience with our tech issues at the start of this episode. Glad we got it up. Glad we got 45 minutes in. We'll probably be here next week. I think it's going to be James and a special guest. I'll be off on Monday, but we will be here for the whole rest of the season. Even as other people start, falling out of contention and tuning out, we'll be here for you. Mondays at noon over on the Rotoworld Player News Q&A. You can find James on Twitter at James_Schiano. I am on Twitter at Samulski NYC. We are both over on Blue Sky. James has his waiver article coming out tomorrow on Rotoworld, so check that out. I have my starting pitcher article coming out Wednesday. James has his steals article coming out on Wednesday, so make sure you check both those out. And then my waiver wire article comes out Sundays over on NBC Sports on Rotoworld. And then the Rotoworld Player News page obviously is updated all day, every day, especially on Monday. Keep that open, refresh it, make sure you get all the latest news before getting your lineup set. Thanks for your patience. Have a great rest of the week. Good luck to your teams, and we will see you next week on the Rotoworld Player News Q&A.